Hello. Welcome to the newest episode of my Garage podcast. And this week, it's gonna kind of be mostly an economy, a little bit of side notes that I've been writing. Uh, and it's kind of been weird because I've been needing to find a new schedule for this because I've started a new class and I have to write essays and I have my college applications and it's just a lot, but I really enjoy doing all these other things. And this is um, one of the things I really enjoy doing is just researching and learning about the economy, but it's kind of been taking a backseat because I've had other assignments that I've been needed doing and exams and just things like that. But uh, I'm still trying to find time for this, and hopefully I'm able to find a schedule soon to fit this in, make longer episodes, and make episodes that are more greatly informed. This week on Thursday, I went to a club meeting for one of my clubs. It's finance and accounting. Um, Talking about finance, I don't know. I think people, especially on Wall Street, for some reason they call finance, and I just feel like it's a um, just a classist way of saying, or I don't know, just wanting to be special, even though that it may be the pronunciation, but I just find it funny that people call it finance. And one of the board members was talking about how um, how due to Trump's plans and tariffs, he's annihilating um, ice. I mean, not try to use big words. Isolating the U.S. Not just the economy, but the amount of people that come over here with these tariffs that's being put on. It's giving negative information to people that once had this vision that America is this great country. It's this this place, and it's because of this it's losing us a lot of human capital, and it isn't just human capital from people that work in um the like janitors and farmers, but people also in the business sector, the medical sector, especially people from in sports. Like right now, baseball, it's number one, like, I guess its star right now is Shohei Ohtani, and the only reason that's been he may have came to America or um, come to the Dodgers at least is because of this relationship that the MLB has been creating. Firstly, with the Dodgers having Japanese players from the 80s and um, kind of promoting it in Japan and creating this like this team that has this Japanese fan base. And when we were taking this away, we're giving negative information that the U.S. wants to be isolated. It doesn't want these other people coming in. It hurts the future growth of our economy. And in general, it's just very damaging. It's kind of one thing I got from that, and just many things. I kind of joined late because it started before my class, and I just got like the last like 30 minutes, like turn out like 40 minutes. And that's kind of the key takeaway from I took for it. It's just I didn't realize that sure, it's taking capital away from businesses, to taking the amount of money that they're going to be able to spend with the tariffs and just buying all these other resources from, especially like Japan. When we're bringing in, it's going to raise prices for Americans. But it's also taking the amount of human capital. It's taking away the amount of foreign-born workers. And like right now, our economy, it's I would say it's struggling. And right now, or at least first I want to state where I got this information from. This week, the AI boom got a reality check on Wall Street. Subtitle: Tech stocks jag Nasdaq to its worst week since President Trump launched a trade war in April. And this is by Sam Goldfarb and Hannah Aaron Lang. And these stocks in the Nasdaq have been propping up our economy, and it's kind of like been giving this false idea that the economy is doing well, these businesses are surviving, so that must mean that these that our economy is doing, the average person's doing good, but this really isn't the case. Um, Due to and because of the government shutdown, has because it's been going on for the longest government shutdown in the U.S. history. U.S. history, it's hurting investors. The amount of information that they get, economists, the information they get, especially to CPI, the amount of the amount of inflation is rising. And this week, Nvidia, Microsoft, Palantir, and Meta stocks have fallen significantly, and I'm gonna get to why this happened. But basically, Palantir has fallen. These stocks have fallen, and Palantir lost 16% of its value, and this is the most out of all four of the stocks that have lost value. And over the past couple of months, stocks have been booming because of the AI bubble / boom, and it's also that the bubble or boom just depends on who you're asking. But personally, I think it's a boom. It's a bubble. People are overvaluing these stocks, and it's holding up the economy, and it's showing that these companies are doing well. But kind of a side note that I've been saying is, I just want to get this clear, is even though these companies are succeeding, it does not reflect how well the average American is doing. With the Trump administration, things have been worse for the average American. Things such as SNAP and the amount of people on SNAP, and due to the government shutdown, many people are getting unfed. On average, 10% of Americans, 10% of Americans receive SNAP benefits, and 50% of SNAP recipients are working class and may have children. And this just shows these people aren't freeloading. These people are struggling in our economy right now because of the government shutdown. These people are not getting fed. And there's kind of been a lot of misinformation because I see it. People say that these people are just freeloading. They don't have. They're just freeloading. They're not like, they're people that are taking these benefits and not doing anything about it, but that's just not the case. And I don't know, I feel like the Trump administration, especially MAGA Republicans, they don't understand how these programs how they benefit people. And I got this from the center, or at least the statistics I got on the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. And with this administration, it really only seems that they're benefiting the rich, especially from last week when I was talking about how only like 10% of people were caring about private equity funds or their 401k going to private equity funds, and it really only seems that they're trying to benefit the ultra wealthy. And it honestly, I mean, I don't know, and they're just trying to keep the American people down, as well. And I'm very critical because Trump is not doing anything good. It's all we hear from Trump is bad, bad, bad. And it really only seems like he doesn't know what he's doing. Especially, he's making, and even then, the amount of people that do support him, when he ran this whole promise on how he was going to get illegals out. But now that we're seeing with ICE and the Department of Homeland, DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, how they're actually training these people, they don't care. They just see people are different. And okay, got a little notification. My laptop's about to die, so I gotta hurry this up. But they see these people, and they see that they're different, and they're not. How do I say this? They see these people, and they're just profiling them that they're illegals, and even then, the ICE agents, they're not identifying themselves. They're making the situation worse. Like, I saw that that people were dressing up as this may be wrong, but and I'm not sure how true this is, but basically ICE agents were people were pretending to be ICE agents and sexually assaulting people. And when we have this system, it creates even more, like, we have this system that is just trying to get people out no matter what. it just creates fear and more problems. And even then, um, these people are not getting due process, even though it's in Article 5 in the Constitution, or maybe wrong, but as far I think it's Article 5 in the Constitution. Any persons of the that are in the United States, even if they're citizens or not, it it's they deserve due process. Okay, gotta fix my chair real quick. They deserve this process, um, and not and not just are willy nilly taken off the street, and 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 even citizens are being taken and putting in ICE facilities. And I don't I there has to be a better system than this hate that it creates. I don't know. I'm getting a little sidetracked, but I kind of want to go back to the main topic. Um, and these stocks in the Nasdaq, also stocks in the Nasdaq have plummeted, and are just, and it hasn't been this plummet hasn't been as bad as the day, or in April, when Trump announced his Liberation Day tariffs, which was basically a tariff on every country, every state. It sounds like a child that when Trump announced that, it sounds like a child. It just doesn't seem real. Even April, like a couple months later, it's just crazy. And due to the government shutdown going on and going into its second month, many economists and investors are no longer having the information that they did. So the amount of investments that have been going on, they're slowing down um, because they don't have the information. They don't understand. They're not understanding how volatile and how risky an investment is, and it's pushing stocks futures down, meaning that giving a reason why these stocks are plummeting. Stocks at the end of the week for the S&P 500 were up 0.3%, 0.13%, which is kind of good, but over the week it was down 2.2%. The Dow is up 0.16% at the end of the week, but was down 1.5% in the past 5 days. And you can just see that if you look at the stocks, you can see the past 5 days how far they went down, how much they've gained, and that's where I got this information on. And this week on Monday, after Amazon announced the $38 billion. This week on Monday, after Amazon's $38 billion deal was cheered on by investors, so it's giving, or the leaders in the company, or the leaders in the AI race, they're profiting, but AI giants Palantir, Palantir Technology, which is an AI company, their quarterly reports have failed to impress Wall Street, and this is raising concerns about the valuation of these stocks, brings in wariness of the stocks, and if investors' investments are going to pay off as they expect. And if this trend of companies losing value, losing all these other things, continues to go on, then there might be a burst of this bubble, and it might show the true, truly how these stocks are performing, and it's going to show the truth of the economy right now. And over the year, Palantir was up 218%, but as of the week, it has fallen. I think it's fallen either 16 or 11%. And even more stocks have been underperforming, as Meta, Microsoft, and Oracle, and Meta, Microsoft, Oracle, and Nvidia have been raising concerns about how much trust should be given and how much value should be given to these stocks. What makes this worse is those in the Silicon Valley are planning to spend over $400 billion on tools that will help improve AI, and even more next year. But the question is right now, um, I'm just trying to remember what I'm saying, are it brings up more questions for these companies because they are not performing as well as they're promising. And they're going to ask for more money from investors when investments are when these companies are starting to fail and results are not being shown, and those with investments in these companies are going to start to question with how much money is being spent and how they're going to be able to make a profit when they're spending more money than they're creating. Also, what's also making investors even more scared is because Michael Burry of The Big Short, who he placed a bet that the house in the 2008 that the housing market was going to crash, and he was able to profit off that, and now he's placing a bet that Nvidia and he's planning to short Nvidia and Palantir and planning that they're going to fail. If in Wall Street, it's better to follow with trends, because in the 2000s bubble, when stockbrokers or people were not investing in and following the trends of the dot-com bubble, people lost their jobs, especially hedge fund managers, and so it is better for people in Wall Street to follow trends. And if more people are going to start to follow this trend, it will cause a chain reaction that will make people start to believe that these stocks will fail and will short the company because and they're going to start to short the company, and this will cause the companies to fail. But the credibility of Burry may or may not be this. I don't know what's going on this week. I'm a little off. I got a lot of things I got to do. But the credibility of Burry comes. But Burry's credibility is often questioned because he has done this multiple times, and this may or may not be true. Where he's done this multiple times, he's wanted to short big companies, and I'm not exactly sure when he's done this, but it's been clear. It may not be certain, but he's done this before, so it kind of raises concerns, but not as much as people would expect. And CEO of Morgan Stanley, an executive. What brings even more concern, or I guess kind of concern, is the CEO of Morgan Stanley and chief executive of Goldman Sachs opened a summit in Hong Kong, or they were at a summit in Hong Kong, and they believe that there's going to be more pullback on the market, and it seems possible, even more likely. And a pullback means that there's a temporary pause in the trend of the market. And for example, if stocks are like rising up, they're going in an uptrend, that means they're going to pause at this trend, and it's going to scare investors even more. David Solomon, chief executive of Goldman Sachs, believes many at the summit share the same opinion on the current state of stocks, that they're going to pause. They're not going to have value, or as much as value as they'd had before. Companies such as Microsoft and Alphabet, from my understanding, it's an investment company, are making profits and giving support. Are making profits and giving support that this is not a bubble. So there's companies that have been rising and succeeding and giving revenue. In the 2000s bubble, the dot-com era, these companies were not making revenue. But other companies, what kind of brings even more concerns is they're not turning as much as a profit, and they bring concerns that these stocks are going to be overvalued and eventually burst, causing a horrible fail, or not a horrible fail, um, causing problems in the economy. And the information that we have with stocks right now, it's starting to resemble more and more of the 2000s dot-com bubble, making concerns for investors whether or not these investments will pay off. Investors are even more concerned right now because a study from the University of Michigan on the Consumer Sentiment Index fell to 50.3 in November, and in the previous month, in October, it was 53.6, and this brings even more concerns because the tools that we do have, they're not pointing towards good directions. And the only recent time it has been this bad, the only time that this study has shown a major loss or something bad coming in was in 2022 during the worst week of the pandemic-fueled inflation surge. On Thursday, Challenger, Gray, and Christmas stated that the U.S. companies' job cuts have tripled in the month of October. And this is bringing even more concerns of the amount of revenue and costs that these companies are cutting to turn a profit. But there is some conflicting information, though. Through the information from the payroll processing company ADP states that job growth has climbed its highest since February. And this information it's to see how credible the information is, it's depending on the U.S. Treasury, and which right now is being influenced by investors' expectations of short-term interest rates set by the Fed. And investors believe that in December there's a 66% chance that there will be a rate cut in December. And if there is a rate cut, it could point to more good. It could try to fix how these companies are succeeding. And right now I feel like the way our economy is based off what I've learned, it's harsh because our company is based off these companies, and if these companies are starting to fail, they're starting to lose value, that means it's going to be worse for the average American. And I feel like even now the average American they're suffering, and I feel like there's been nothing to do about it. I don't know. Hopefully this episode, I was, I feel like I was kind of looking at my notes a lot more. I don't know. I just kind of in the beginning I said I feel out of it. I have a lot of things I need to be doing, and I want to make this priority. But when I have actual due dates for classes and grades, it's kind of scary because, at least for myself, I can convince myself that it's going to be fine. I can just get information real fast and then do it. But I feel like when it comes to my math classes, my English class, I don't know. I feel like teachers aren't as forgiving. And then I have exam on Wednesday and Thursday. I don't know. I feel pretty good about it. I just need to study a little bit more, and I should be good. But also kind of a little bit of philosophy things. I feel like for most people, they want to live in this perfect world, and I kind of see myself doing it a lot. I wish that I live in this I feel like I live in this fantasy world that one day it's gonna all work. It's all gonna do all these things are gonna work out. I don't have to work at anything, and it's just gonna work out. But I feel like that's not the case. And there's this, for my English book, for my English um for my English argumentative essay, it's based off this book, Lessons for Living, by Phil Stutz. And it's this book that talks about this thing that we have in ourselves. It's called, or he claims it's called Part X, where um, people want to avoid situations, they want to do these things, and that Part X pushes us. I don't know, I've just kind of been thinking about that and just kind of being more realistic with my life. Like, over the week, I started that I got really nervous to have to stay like another year at community college. But after I called like some teachers and or people at the school, I was able to find out the answer and just kind of see that it's more than likely that I won't be staying another year. And I don't know, I just want to just be like more proactive about my life. And I've just been feeling proud about myself because the amount of work I've been doing. And I kind of really have nothing else to say. It was kind of, last weekend was kind of a stressful week, so I'm still just trying to catch back up to the amount of work I did. Um, and I just want to say thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next week.